Honig Special 595 Zagato. Vauxhall Lotus Carlton. That is a sick first spot of Wednesday. Damn. Okay guys, welcome back to Six Cars. Day number 3 here in Monterey for Car Week. You can see we've already found a 918 here at 17 Mile Drive. A little chilly today, pretty foggy, but it should make for some pretty cool looking footage. It's kind of got like a bit of a Silent Hill vibe today, so I'm excited. There's going to be a lot more hypercars and collector cars showing up. We're going to check out a couple more auction previews as well. Hit up a few new spots we haven't done so far, so there's going to be a ton of new content. So again, I don't think I need to remind you guys, but I will say it again. Subscribe, like, comment, and share to stay up to date on everything. Let's get at it. So great spec, obviously. We actually saw this drive by on 17 Mile last night, but it was driving, so I couldn't really check it out. It is a Y-Sack package. Obviously, you can see the different wheels, the carbon fiber front lip, and the diffuser at the back, but it's a great color. And this sort of baby blue really pops against these acid green details with the brake calipers and the stitching through the seats. It's a lovely looking car. You got Toronto Supercar spot in there going to work. That is a great looking spec. Nice little random find, which is half the stuff here at Car Week. Nice Ferrari 275 GTB. And only fitting, we have another 90s Super Saloon here right after seeing that Vauxhall Lotus Carlton, the 190E Evo 2. Probably one of the, honestly, one of the coolest cars ever made. It's a boxy sedan that is just stripped and fully ready to race, and that massive iconic wing in the back is just so damn cool. Guys, we're counting all of the Canadian cars that we see here at Car Week. We got a whole lineup here from Grand Touring. We've got Bentayga, DBX, Chiron, Pure Sport, the Urus, and the Continental Drop. Now, the Pure Sport, I'm sure we've probably seen before. The owner is pretty well known on Instagram, has a ridiculous collection of cars, and it's been shipped down from Canada for Car Week, so we should see it driving around quite a bit, but it's a great spec. Blue on black. Can't really go wrong when you're talking about a Chiron. And the Pure Sport obviously looks pretty damn good. You get that extra wing at the back and a completely different front fascia. It's a nice little car. So a great lineup here today at Spanish Bay. Of course, we saw the Chiron Super Sport and the Agera XS yesterday, but now we have the cars from the 17 Mile photo shoot have joined the party. We've got the P1 HDK we saw back at O'Gara Coach when we were down in LA last weekend. We have the Chiron here, the Super Sport with the black with the blue stripes, and we've got the white Super Sport as well, which looks great. I think that one was here yesterday, but still a great find, and always nice to see Chirons. And the P1 HDK is so good. I mean, yes, I know we've seen this at O'Gara already, but just another up close and personal look with it. This sort of, I call it like brushed or matte silver with the black two-tone, looks really nice, and it pops so well against that orange interior. Just a fantastic looking car. You get a road legal from the factory GTR essentially. And then behind us, we've got the Senna GTR number 1, Senna GTR number 2, and the second Apollo IE of the week. So let's head over and check that out. So here's the second Apollo IE of the week. I think there's only about 10 of these that have been produced for the world. So if that is true, my numbers are correct, and we've already seen 20% of all the Apollo IEs in the world in the past 2 days. We did see this one rolling out of 17 Mile last night, but we couldn't really get a good look at it. It was a little bit dark out, and we just caught it when it was leaving. But we saw the Purple Dragon one before. This one is just full bare exposed carbon fiber with sort of red or burnt orange accents. Looks really, really nice. You can see it up close and personal. Again, I think my favorite part of these Apollo IEs is that ridiculous exhaust, and it's one of the loudest sounding street legal V12s you can hear from the factory, and it's just absolutely ear shattering. So a great car. And of course, we get the Senna GTR in front there with the Marlboro livery, which we saw power sliding out of 17 Mile last night. We saw it back at the O'Gara or the Hyper NF team meet back in LA as well. We'll get around to the front and see that again, but the Apollo IE is definitely one of the craziest looking hypercars you can get. And yeah, there is the front of the now infamous Senna GTR from the power slide last night. The Marlboro livery, again, just so damn good, paying tribute to the man legend Ayrton Senna himself and that classic McLaren MP44, MP45. This is just such a cool little duo of hypercars here. And again, there's not too many street legal Senna GTRs out there, but here is one of the few with the Apollo IE. Quite the lineup. And here is Senna GTR number 2. So obviously no crazy Marlboro livery on it, but I do really like the white against the black accents, and as well as the red brake calipers look really nice too. And it looks like the accents in the seat are orange, and funny enough, he's just got a massive gas tank sitting in the passenger seat. I guess he just doesn't really want to even attempt going into a gas station or pulling over a curb or scraping the car any sort of way. So you can just fill up and gas up on the go whenever he wants. But 2 Senna GTRs, road legal ones at that, in the parking lot here at Spanish Bay. And just have a look at the back of this car, the ridiculous aero, the massive cut diffuser. And I do love how this wing just stretches over the entire rear end of the car. It is just absolutely ballistic and so cool to see it driving on public roads. The all-electric Lotus Avaya rolling out. That is an official spaceship. Wow, that looks wild. Now there's a good spot. First gen Mercy Roadster, unmodified. That is so clean. Sounds amazing. Well, crowds at polo fields, that means there's always something good. And this one is very, very good. We have an Aston Martin Valkyrie in the flesh. So all black. It's almost similar to the one we saw back in Japan at Fuji Speedway, except it doesn't have the gold accents. You can see a little bit through the headlight casings, but this one is pretty much pure black. And if you have a peek inside while the doors are open, you can see that tiny little cockpit, obviously the harnesses. It is a ridiculous car, and as we already know, essentially a Formula 1 car with a Le Mans style kind of body, and it's fully road legal. We got the cameras for the side mirrors, and we've got that Cosworth V12 at the back. So once the crowds clear out a little bit and we can get a better look at it, hopefully it drives, then we can see it in more detail. Yeah, it takes it's pretty tricky to start a Valkyrie apparently. So if you guys can see, it actually takes a full demonstration just to show how to get into the Valkyrie, let alone how to start it. It's not the easiest car to drive, it's not the easiest car to start, but my goodness, does it ever look incredible. So obviously it gets much louder at higher res, very mechanical sounding startup on the Valkyrie, but what a remarkable looking car. And we're gonna get a little bit of driving action here as it leaves the polo fields. Just found Ken Okayama's latest creation coming off of a truck. You can see the Lowtech Mercedes up there as well. This one is absolutely stacked. I don't really know too much about this car. I don't even know if it's been unveiled yet, but it does sound like it has a V12. And it's got an LFA style exhaust, except it's got 4 pipes. That looks absolutely crazy. Try to get around to the front here as well. It's definitely got the wedge shape. You can see the green inside of the doors and green accents as well. It does look like it's based on an Aventor. Just having a quick peek inside of the interior, looks very Lamborghini-ish. That would explain that V12 sound as well. Look at the front too. It's kind of reminiscent of like a 595 Zagato. And oh, look at that. Video bombed by a yellow F50. It's officially getting crazy, guys. I don't even know where to go anymore, but this is crazy, guys. This might be one of the biggest crowds I've ever seen anywhere at Car Week, and it's for good reason. The one-off Lotech Mercedes. How ridiculous does that look? It's honestly basically a Group C prototype looking car for the road, and one-off. Looks like it's on BBS wheels, but I don't think they're going to drive it just yet. It looks like it's getting unloaded to the flatbed, but it should be driving tomorrow in the Tour d'Elegance on Highway 1. There we go, is a nice little preview before it drives on the Tour d'Elegance tomorrow, and we see this on the Pacific Coast Highway. As long as there's no hiccups, we will see it rolling, but there it goes away on the flatbed, ready to be tucked away and get ready for tomorrow. And now the Lotech's gone, we also have the one-off Ford Shelby Cobra concept. You're waiting for one more car to come off of this amazing trailer full of incredibly rare cars, but just as we're waiting for that last one to come off, just wanted to show you a quick close-up of the Ford Shelby Cobra concept. Apparently it has a V10, which I did not know about. It's built on the Ford GT chassis as well. And look at that, it honestly does look like a modern variation of the Shelby Cobra, which is exactly what it's supposed to be. I think they nailed the design. You already heard the sound too. It's absolutely incredible. So the last car to come out of this trailer is a brown Murcielago SV with a wing delete, and to my knowledge, I believe it is a manual too. One of only, I think, 5 or 6 that came with that gearbox. So wait for it to get unloaded and see it on ground level.
Valkyrie.
Hey guys, so we were actually just leaving Polo Fields and we turned that car right around because we got word that this had just popped off one of the trailers, a CLK GTR. Obviously, we've seen the Roadster already this week. We've seen it multiple times. This is the first coupe that we have seen at this 2024 Monterey Car Week. And I mean, take your pick if you like the coupe or the Roadster more. Obviously, you can see one major difference there is that rear wing. That's definitely the more iconic wing that everybody knows, whereas the Roadster has more as the fixed GT wing. And of course, the coupe, you get that awesome roof snorkel as well. And there is a nice Bizzarini unloading beside it too, which is a really underrated and cool classic car. The CLK GTR absolutely takes the cake. That is incredible. And there's a quick peek at the back of the CLK GTR coupe. There's obviously a massive crowd, so don't really want to photobomb too many pictures or anything like that. Don't want to get in the way, but we can have a quick look at the back of the car while it is pretty opened up. So yeah, there is obviously noticeable differences between the Roadster that we saw previously. This is obviously the more well-known of the two cars though, and I think it's just incredible that we've seen both variants in the past 2 days. It's one of the most iconic of these 90s GT1 hypercars, and to have both the coupe and the Roadster here at Monterey Car Week is pretty damn special. So enjoy it while we can, guys. And that is the CLK GTR effect. Just getting absolutely mobbed, and for good reason, as it's going back into the truck, and I'm sure we'll be seeing that more as the week goes on. Okay, so now we are in the auction, or the media day preview for Gooding and Company. Every single auction at Car Week has ridiculous cars, but Gooding has a few in particular that I really want to show you guys. So I'm going to take you on a quick tour of all of my personal favorites here at the Gooding auction. So the first thing I want to show you guys here at Gooding is this incredible quartet of Zagato cars. The first one is the 356. I do believe we saw this back at the Canadian International Auto Show. I think it's one of Zagato's latest creations. But what's cool about this one is it gives it like sort of a slant nose or a flat nose, whatever you'd like to call it. It's very different from the standard 356, and the fins at the back are almost like American styling. It's really interesting. Here is the 550 GTZ Ricchetta. Now, this one is quite interesting because I know it's called a 550. I actually think it might be based on a 575. It's a bit strange, this one, but it's incredible, the design and just the way Zagato has reshaped this car. And I do believe that Ferrari sort of didn't want them to do this. There's a bit of a history with it, but either way, it's here in the flesh, and it looks nothing like a standard 550 or 575. It's really its own unique creation. It's so damn cool. Beside it, it might be my personal favorite out of all these, the Alfa Romeo TZ3. So you guys know the Giulia TZ1 and TZ2 are incredibly famous cars from the 60s, but the TZ3 is a brand new creation from Zagato, and what's interesting about this is actually based on a Dodge Viper. So it has that massive, I believe it's 8-liter V10 under the hood, and of course sounds like a Dodge Viper and looks incredible. It still has sort of classic Alfa Romeo styling. It's an amazing looking car. And then here is the 595 Zagato, which is based on the Gallardo, and once again looks nothing like a Gallardo. It's just the underpinnings and the chassis that are really the same. The bodywork is completely different. What's really interesting is it has this massive sort of like wind deflector, a little wing on top of the hood, just over the windshield wipers. It's really, really cool, and something that I've never really seen on another car. And the roof snorkel, the roof intake, whatever you like to call it, is a great feature that honestly works on pretty much any car. And we have a look at the back here. Once again, it's not really like a Gallardo or anything like that, or anything from a Lamborghini really. It's completely its own unique car, and it looks phenomenal. And just a quick look at the back of the other Zagatos here. The TZ3 once again is very unique, and honestly I like how it's a very modern look, but it has some retro style wheels on it. I think that looks fantastic. really suits the car. The back of the 550 GTZ though is just amazing. It's honestly hard. It looks like a few different cars really mashed into one, but once again, it's unique, and that's what's so cool about Zagato. All of their designs are truly one of a kind. I just love how the exhaust sticks out of the rear bumper there. That is just such an amazing looking car, and these are three that I have never honestly seen before, and they're all side by side here at Gooding. Great Vanquish Zagato shooting brake, another Zagato car actually. It's not with the main section over there, but it's so cool. And once again, I have a real soft spot for wagons, so the fact that they built a shooting brake out of this is great. And once again, small details in these Aston Martins are what really counts, especially the Zagatos with the little Z markings through the front grille. But I do believe the shooting brake version of the Vanquish Zagato is the best looking at the bunch. And just have a look at the back end of it. The wagon style is just so cool. I absolutely love that they went ahead and did that. But again, more great cars over here. The exclusive series 911 Turbo S, and we have a YSEC 918 over here. That's always nice. A couple of good old Mercedes too. A few classic historical Ferrari race cars. You start off with this 857 Sport Spider, which a lot of them do look very similar from this era, but each one sort of has its own unique take. I think that shark fin, or the fin behind the driver's headrest there, is very unique to this 857. It looks super interesting. 250 TDF, which is very famous, one of the most well-known of these classic Ferrari race cars, especially from the 250 series. Beside that, we also have a 500 TR, which just looks great. It's a little more understated than the 857 over here, but I do think this classic streamlined look of the 500 TR looks fantastic. And obviously the value in all of these is well into the millions of dollars. I mean, if you just have a quick peek at the 250 TDF here, what do we have? 5.5 to 6.5 million US dollars. So that's a pretty penny. And have a look at this Daytona over here as well. Unless my eyes are deceiving me, that is green, and green on a sort of brown or beige interior. What a great looking car. A couple of nice Singers here. We have the standard one, and of course we have the DLS, which is built in collaboration with Williams, and obviously you can see it has the Y body. It's very different from the standard 911s reimagined by Singer. It's way more power. It's extremely light. This is a full-blown race car. It might not look like it, but underneath there's a lot going on, and there's a reason why these are selling for over $1 million. We have a 275 here, but this could be one of my favorites in the entire auction, the Diablo SV. And the reason why is this spec is absolutely iconic. It's the yellow with the black SV sticker. That's a must for me. I think you have to get the black SV sticker if you have a Diablo SV. But if you play those old Need for Speed games from like the late 90s, early 2000s, like Most Wanted or High Stakes, this one is iconic. Speaking of iconic, we've got the 935. This one is from 1976. There's so many different variants of the 935. It changed body styles quite a bit through the late 70s and early 80s, but this could be one of the best looking ones out there. And the reason why it's so iconic as well is of course the classic Martini livery with those iconic colors. And just look at the size of this rear wing. It's absolutely massive, but man, is that ever a cool looking car. One of my personal favorite Ferrari race cars, the 333 SP Evolution. So it raced in many different series around the world. It was at Le Mans, it was in IMSA here in North America. And I think this Momo livery is fairly well known too. I think this particular car was in old Forza Motorsport games, so I'm sure many of you guys will recognize it. There's a loud start over there from that Singer DLS we just saw earlier. But the 333 SP is just one of the craziest sounding race cars ever built. That screaming V12 sounds so damn good, and I just love this sort of styling of these late 90s Le Mans prototypes too. And we do have a 906 Carrera beside the 333 SP as well. Different era of race cars, but obviously pretty iconic as well. And I'm not sure how many of these exist in the world, but it's only a small handful. And what's cool is this one looks all original. It doesn't look like it's been cleaned up too much, which is great. And I think a lot of collectors really go for that. They want to see the racing scuffs. They want it to be presented as it was when it finished a race, and this looks just like it. CCR. Check it out, guys. Nice little roadside find. We've got the, I guess you call it urban camouflage Huracan Sterato. There we've got the Stratman's Garrett HH and the modified NSX up there too, just coming off the trailer. So perfect timing actually, and a nice side street find. So just a quick stop for lunch here, and look, we found the parking lot. There's two Utopias. I believe that is the launch or the press car, but this one is a customer by the looks of it. Yellow with the full carbon two-tone, and the tricolore stripe is really nice, and a cool wire roadster exposed carbon fiber with the gold trim. Nice little trio of Paganis here up at Carmel Valley Ranch. Got another auction preview here for you guys today. We are at Broad Arrow Auction at the Monterey Airport. Behind me, there is a 6x6 Hennessy Velociraptor, and it's built on the Raptor R, so that's kind of cool. But we're gonna head into the Broad Arrow Auction because there's a ton of crazy collector cars in there. It's only just getting wilder as the day goes on, guys. So let's go see some more interesting cars. Okay, so you might be wondering why I am showing you a Ferrari 430 Spider at Car Week, because, well, we see a lot of them, we see a ton of hypercars. So why am I showing this exactly? Well, it's for what's inside the interior. You can obviously see the material is quite different from your standard Ferrari. It is also a gated manual too, but this is all alligator skin on the headrest, the seats, and even on the steering wheel. You can see on the bottom there, something that I didn't even know was possible to option from Ferrari, even the center console down there too. That is incredibly unique, and I'd be interested to see how much money that fetches with an alligator skin interior. Got a nice Diablo. Behind me there is a Carrera GT. We'll continue further on into the auction here at Broad Arrow. Great little quartet of cars here. We've got obviously an Enzo Ferrari in the classic red. We've got a launch spec Ford GT. I do believe this is launch spec. It is or else it's a very similar looking blue with the silver gray brakes. Behind that we do have a 918. Got a really clean looking roof turbo R limited, sort of. Well, we all know about Singers and Gunther Works these days, but Roof is really the OG, and I'm not sure if they still do. What was really cool is, even though they look like Porsches, and obviously they are essentially 911s, Roof used to build all of their own body parts. So it's really cool. Obviously, it's a little more extreme than your standard 911, and these things are blisteringly quick. I can only imagine it's probably going to fetch, you know, north of $1 million. Got a really cool Dakar over here with the YSEC Dakar Rally livery from factory. See an SLR. We see a really nice, I believe it's a 550. It does have the longer looking grille. It's kind of hard to tell just between a 550 and a 575, but this was almost like a champagne gold. I haven't seen too many Ferraris in this color. That's really good looking. Another Ford GT. We've got a Countach over there, and the lineup just keeps on going here at Broad Arrow. 997 GT2 RS. I think we see a lot of 991s around these days, but we hardly ever see the 997. So take a quick second to appreciate that. And to be honest, me personally, I'm not usually very big on carbon fiber hoods, but on the GT2 RS, it works so well. And it's honestly one of the most extreme 911s ever built, and there's only a handful of them, so pretty cool to see one. Here's a great looking Veyron 16.4. Now, this one's pretty interesting. I thought it was all black, but as you get closer, it's actually a black and blue two-tone. The blue is just extremely dark, and it's got a brown interior. Looks really nice, and obviously the Veyrons are aging incredibly well. Beside that, now I know, again, you must be thinking it's just a 488, but this one is pretty interesting. It's one of the 70th anniversary cars that Ferrari built, and each one of them was a unique one-off that was a tribute to a former car. So this one is nicknamed the Shot, silver with the red roof. It's got over $100,000 in bespoke options. And this one does pay tribute to, I believe it is the 410 Sports Series 2 that had a very similar paint scheme, another famous Ferrari, but this 48 is pretty damn cool. Got another roof here. This one is the CTR2. So we saw the Turbo R Limited over there. The CTR2, I believe, did come first, but one of the coolest features on this car is their rear wing. You can see these intakes that are built straight into the aero, which is extremely cool, and something that Porsche themselves don't even really do on their road cars. But CTR2, obviously incredibly unique. And speaking of special cars, there is a Miura SV sitting right beside it in a very understated all silver look. That's incredibly nice. It's a nice little Lola LMP2 car here from the 2000 American Le Mans series. It was a 2000 spec. I think it was actually the 2003 edition of the Daytona 24 Hours and the Sebring 12 Hours that this car was a class winner in the LMP2 class. So, hey, you know we love race cars here on Sick Cars, so that is really nice to see. It's still in its original LMP2 trim. Another nice roof. This one's obviously on the 997 body, the RT12R. It's got a nice red pearlescent paint. That looks fantastic. It's got a 959. We've seen a few of those so far at this car week, but they always are nice. But this is the one I really want to show you guys, the Koenig Specials 962. So Koenig is obviously a very famous tuner from the 80s and the 90s for modifying supercars way before any of these modern companies like Liberty Walk or Rocket Bunny. But this was probably their craziest creation. There's only 3 of these 962s in existence. It was marketed as the first Group C race car drivable on the road, because obviously the 962 was so good, it eventually got banned. Group C was basically scrapped altogether, and people were trying to figure out what they want to do with their 962 chassis. Well, a few of them got commissioned into this Koenig Specials 962 or C62, whatever you'd like to call it. That is just incredible to see. And again, one of those things you'll only really see at Monterey Car Week. You see some finer details on the Koenig C62, and they're not kidding when they say that it is the first Group C race car for the road. It is absolutely insane. You see the massive radiators here and the indents on the side. And here is the engine housing. Now, it's an interesting engine. A 3.4 liter twin turbo flat six, so staying within the Porsche family. And obviously, as you can see, the back is mega. It's modified from a standard 962. You can see it still clearly has that exact same look, but Koenig is never afraid to do crazy stuff, and this is probably their wildest creation. Here we go, one for my JDM fans just like myself, a Skyline GTR R34 V-Spec. But what's very cool about this one, obviously, it's finished in Midnight Purple 2. Now, I don't know the exact number. I think there's only a few hundred. I think it's less than 300 in total that are finished in this Midnight Purple 2, or the V-Specs for that matter. And we do have some nice classics in here too. We got a 250 GT Lusso, which I don't know, if you were to ask me the top 5 like classic Ferraris, this would probably be in that list. I think the Lusso is a fantastic looking car. The swoopback style is so good looking. We've got a 275 GTB over there, speaking of nice classic Ferraris. And apparently this 550 or 575 is a manual as well, so that will obviously fetch a ton of money. Got a yellow Daytona back there too, so some really good classic Ferraris into this display here at Broad Arrow Auction. We also have a nice Bizzarini race car. We saw this, the road version of it being unloaded back at the Polo Fields earlier in the day, but this is the race version of the Bizzarini. I believe it's the 5300 GT, and yeah, it's just a classic looking Italian race car, which they always look good, especially from this era, the 60s. But the Bizzarini is probably one of the lesser known ones, but I think easily one of the best looking ones, so that's always a good find. Nice, you got like a modified Vantage here, which looks like it's kind of done up like a GTE or a GT3 car. And beside that, got another Vanquish Zagato. I think we've seen a few of them this week. We've seen the shooting brake version. That one is the coupe though, so I believe there's 99 of each variant. So nice little find in the parking lot at Broad Arrow. It's a nice 3-liter CSL, damn. Finally with an Alpha 8C too. About time we've seen one of these. Great little photo shoot here. We got the gated LP640 and the 70 or LP720 rather 50th Anniversario Aventor. That's probably my favorite edition of any Aventor, to be honest. I think the body lines and the body style are just great, and there's only about 100 of them, so quite rare. Now that's good. Well, wait until you hear Gordon in the Century. That's going to be even funnier.
You got to do it. You got to do it.
There we go. Okay, hold the phone, guys. Couple of rare Mercedes. Got to point out a CLK 63 Black Series because you hardly ever see these around anywhere. And to be honest, I don't even think I've seen around one at all ever. And it suits it really nicely. That's a great looking car. But over here, and you already see Drive with Roy's already spotted it, we have the world's coolest minivan, the R63 AMG. Yes, if you didn't know, there was an AMG minivan once upon a time, and here it is. Again, I don't know if I've ever seen one of these before ever in my life, but at Car Week, you can see pretty much anything, and this honestly might be one of the best cars we have seen through this entire week so far. Here, and we had to come back to Spanish quickly because one of the GOAT Lamborghinis, I would say, the Diablo SE30, and this does have the Yota package too, so pretty special, and this color was unique to this car. Well, you can get it on newer Lamborghinis, but this is SE30 purple, so it is synonymous with this particular Diablo, and it just looks so damn good. And there's a few different design cues on this car. Obviously, the front bumper is different, the Lamborghini badge down on the front rather than on the hood, but it's a pretty cool looking car and definitely the best spec. Well, guys, it's back to the hotel. That wraps up a crazy day 3 here at Monterey Car Week. just non-stop action, and honestly it only gets crazier and crazier from here on out. For tomorrow on Thursday, we do have the Tour d'Elegance, so pretty much everything that's in the Pebble Beach concourse will be driving out the Pacific Coast Highway. It's an absolute scene. It's totally incredible with the views and the iconic cars, so it's going to be a blast. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's vlog filled with all sorts of wonderful hypercars and collector cars, and we'll see you tomorrow on 6 Cars.